All right, let's get into it. Today, we are cracking open a major public health mystery. You could almost call it a microbial whodunit. We're going to find out how some of the most dangerous bacteria manage to survive our best medicines. And it's not just by fighting back, it's by hiding in plain sight and secretly evolving into the superbugs we're all worried about. So, let's start with the big question, the one that probably brought you here. You know that feeling, right? You get an infection, you take a full course of antibiotics, you start feeling better, and then bam, it comes roaring back. What is actually happening inside our bodies when that goes down? I want you to think about this like a crime scene. The infection is the crime, and the antibiotics, they're the cops. They show up and they neutralize most of the bacterial culprits. But a few of them get away. They lie low, and then they come back to cause trouble all over again. So today, we're the detectives on this case, and we are hunting for the mastermind behind these ridiculously stubborn comebacks. Now, any good detective knows you always start with the usual suspects. And in this case, the prime suspect is a famous one: antibiotic resistance. It's the villain we all know from the story of modern medicine, the main reason some treatments just don't work. But the real question is it the only villain? Okay, so let's put our main suspect right under the microscope. What exactly is antibiotic resistance, and how does it even work? You have to understand this part because it's absolutely key to uncovering the huge twist that's coming up in our story. So here's the official rap sheet. Resistance is a permanent, inherited trait. It is literally coded into the bacteria's DNA. The best way to think about it is like the bacteria have evolved a permanent suit of armor. Once they have it, they can pass it down to their offspring, and they can just keep growing and multiplying, even while we're blasting them with an antibiotic. And they get this armor in a couple of ways. First, it can be just a random mistake, a mutation in their DNA that happens to give them an advantage. And that gets passed down from parent to child. The second way, which is way more alarming, is that they can actually get resistance genes from their neighbors. They are literally swapping genetic blueprints with other bacteria around them. You know, if this kind of permanent genetic resistance was the only thing going on, our mystery would be solved. We just need to build better drugs to get through the armor. But something else is happening. There's this hidden clue in the data that tells us there's another player on the field. And that right there brings us to the secret accomplice in our mystery. This is a totally different survival strategy. It's not about fighting at all. It's about hiding. It's a phenomenon called antibiotic persistence, and trust me, it is a total game changer. So unlike resistance, persistence isn't a permanent genetic change. It's a temporary state of being. A tiny fraction of the bacteria in an infection just hit the pause button. They go into this dormant, super low-energy state. They're not growing, so the antibiotics, which are designed to attack growing cells, just fly right past them. See, they're not wearing armor. They're essentially playing dead inside a bunker until all the danger passes. This chart really lays out the difference perfectly, right? Resistance is genetic, it's permanent, and the bacteria keep on growing. Persistence is a physical state. It's temporary, and the bacteria go dormant. One is evolution, the other is a survival tactic. And for a very long time, scientists saw these as two completely separate problems. But here comes the twist, the real shocker in this whole investigation. What if the accomplice, the bacteria that are playing dead, aren't just a separate issue? What if they are actively helping to create the main villain? This is where our case takes a sharp and, honestly, a pretty sinister turn. This quote just perfectly captures this terrifying new understanding. That temporary bunker, that playing dead state, it's not just a safe house anymore. It turns out it's the perfect laboratory for dangerous evolution to happen. And this is the central clue. The very act of hiding is what makes the bacteria stronger for the next fight. So how on earth does this happen? Well, the antibiotic attack creates a ton of stress that actually damages the DNA of those dormant hiding bacteria. This damage triggers an internal SOS alarm, which calls in an emergency repair crew. But here's the catch. This repair crew is, well, it's sloppy, it's error-prone, and it's rushed to patch up the DNA. It makes mistakes, permanent mistakes, mutations. And some of those random mistakes can create a brand new suit of armor, permanent antibiotic resistance. Okay, so this is the crucial point, the big takeaway. The temporary survival tactic is directly fueling the evolution of a permanent weapon. The bacteria go into that bunker sensitive to the drug, but while they're just hiding out, the stress of the attack itself forces them to evolve. They can actually emerge from that dormant state fundamentally changed, and now truly resistant.
So, what does this all mean for the real world, for us? This discovery changes, well, pretty much everything. It completely reframes how we think about treatment, about those relapsing infections, and about the rise of the superbugs that are threatening global health.
Yeah, persistence is no longer just this annoying thing that makes infections come back. We now understand it's a key driver of the entire antibiotic resistance crisis. And here's why that matters so much. It means that every single time we treat an infection, we might be accidentally running a high-speed evolution experiment inside a patient's body, creating the very superbugs we're trying so desperately to prevent.
And look at this. Here is the real-world evidence laid bare. On the left, you've got different bacteria. That middle column shows whether they have those sloppy DNA repair crews we were just talking about. And on the right, that's their resistance risk level, according to the World Health Organization. The pattern is it's undeniable. The pathogens that have the error-prone repair systems are the ones flagged as critical or high-priority threats. The one that doesn't have it, low risk.
And that brings us to the final verdict from our whole investigation. It's not just the ability to play dead that's the problem, it's the combination of two things. The ability to go into that dormant, persistent state and having the internal toolkit of those sloppy DNA repair enzymes. That 1-2 punch is the perfect recipe for creating new and incredibly dangerous forms of antibiotic resistance. So this leaves us with this huge and kind of scary question. We have always focused on killing the active bacteria, but what if the real fight is actually with the sleepers? If these dormant bacteria are secretly evolving into superbugs during treatment, our entire strategy might need to change. How do you fight an enemy that literally gets stronger just by hiding from you?